Hey guys, it's Andy, and I'm here to bring you all things mundane and makeup related. So if that's your vibe, I would love it if you would subscribe to be part of my slice of the internet. So let's go ahead and get on into today's video, which was done by It's Just Steph last month or 2 months ago. I will leave her listed in the description box down below, but it's One Hit Wonders. These are brands that I own only one eyeshadow palette from. Either I just only have one as of right now, or I've decluttered down to only having one palette, or what have you. So we're going to go ahead and get on into that. So let's just do that. Alright, so like I said, It's Just Steph did this video a couple months back where she just talked about One Hit Wonders, palettes that she has brands that she has one palette of in her collection. And she broke it down into 3 categories, and I'm going to break it down into the same 3 with a caveat. So we're going to start with brands that I used to have more from, but I have since decluttered, and now I only have one. And I only have one palette. And that's the Cab Cosmetics. This is the Day to Night palette. I love this palette. I used to have, I think I had 3 quads that I had gotten from Ipsy, but just the colors in those quads were so similar to what I already had in this palette that I decluttered those quads because I don't need the quads and this palette. I don't reach for quads like ever. And I don't bring quads generally when I travel because the makeup bag that I bring when I travel, like I can hold a ColourPop 9-pan in it. So I don't need quads. But I love the quality of their eyeshadow formula. So like if you're into quads, I would highly recommend Cab Cosmetics for their quads. But I really like this Day to Night palette. So this is the only brand that I used to have more of, but I have decluttered down to only one palette. The next would be brands that we're going to start with the negatives so that we can end on a positive note. And this is where I'm going to have a caveat because there's brands that I wouldn't repurchase from, which I only have a couple, and then brands that I would repurchase from, which I have a whole bunch over here. And then I'm going to add a 4th category, which is brands that I might repurchase from because I have a whole stack here that like, it's case by case, and we'll get into those. But we're going to start with the negative just so we can get that out of the way because it's a small stack. And it's not even that negative on why I wouldn't repurchase from them. So the first one is going to be my Betsey Johnson Love Betsey palette. I got this from Walmart. And it's honestly a wonderful formula. It's beautiful. The mattes are buttery smooth. The shimmers perform really well on the eyes. But I don't even know if they make anything else. And if they did, like, I don't need it. Like, I keep this around because I know the formula is good and I do think that it's a cute color story. But this it's not something that I need. So that's the only reason I wouldn't purchase more from this brand because I don't need it. I have so much in my collection already that like, I just don't need anymore. But the formula on this is phenomenal, to be honest. Next, this is one of my newer palettes. This is the Cannabis Creations Mary Jane palette. And I have only tried this once so far. But these are all cream shadows. And I feel like I wouldn't repurchase from the brand because, like, unless they came out, and, like, again, all my no's kind of have a caveat as well, because unless they came out with something that was completely different color story-wise, that I absolutely needed, that were creams, because their whole brand is cream formulas, I have everything I need here. I have a white, I have a black, I have a brown, I have other shades in here. I just don't feel like I would need anything else. So, it's beautiful and I love it. I don't need anything else. And do we ever really need anything? Next would be my Lethal Cosmetics. This is a custom palette that I made, which I do love it. I think that I did a really good job on it. But for the price that you pay for Lethal Shadows, I just don't think that I would purchase from them again. Like, they're nice, but they're expensive for what they are. So unless Lethal came out with something utterly mind-blowing, I don't think I would repurchase from Lethal. I'm happy that I did. I like my custom palette, but... Then we have this. This is a Buxom custom palette. This is the Dolly's Wild Side, but you can remove these. These are 6 shadows. I really like the formula on this. It's really beautiful. I think they perform really well. I'm happy with the look every time that I use this. But Buxom shadows are really expensive, and they're soft. Like, that's the look you're going to get every time you use a Buxom shadow. And it's nice, but nothing that they do wows me, and I just don't see a reason for me to buy anything else from the brand. And last but not least, for palettes that I would not repurchase from, this is the only one that's kind of negative, is my Cursed Cosmetics, the Hide Your Face palette, which looks like this, and I just didn't get a good taste of the brand. They don't list that the palette has pressed glitters, and these 2 shades are pressed glitters. I love pressed glitters, so it doesn't bother me, but I know it's going to bother a lot of people, and I just I had some communication with the brand, and it didn't go very well, and that's fine, but I wouldn't repurchase from them. So, we're going to move right into my maybe category, because I have a whole somewhat large stack of maybes. Because again, these are kind of case by case. So this is the Ladybug Glow and Ice Cream Beauty End of the Rainbow palette. It still smells like glue, and I hate that. This is what it looks like, and it's gorgeous. This would be a maybe because, like, I don't know the Ladybug Glow brand, and it's an Ice Cream Beauty palette, which I love getting these palettes in Ice Cream Beauty, but, like, I would really need to look into Ladybug Glow and see what they do, but these multi-chromes are beautiful, so if they came out with another color story that I really enjoyed and wanted, I would absolutely, most likely, repurchase from them. So I would need to look more into it, and I haven't, so that's why that's a maybe. The Urban Decay Naked Robin Eisenberg palette. This is not only the only Naked Urban Decay palette, this is the only... I meant to say this is not only the only Naked palette I have, this is the only Urban Decay palette I have. This is what the Robin Eisenberg palette looks like. And I wish that we had gotten one more, like, purpley blue matte. But we didn't, and that's fine. And I just, like, this color story is okay, but I just felt the formula was meh, personally. So, like, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Urban Decay. Like, their palettes. And so unless they came out with a color story that absolutely wowed me, that's basically the theme for my entire maybe category. Unless they come out with a color story that blows my socks off, I probably wouldn't repurchase. And I almost really liked the Metals palette, but it just... the mattes that accompanied the shimmers didn't do it for me. So, like, they really gotta wow me on something for me to want to purchase a palette from them. Because this was just meh. Next is my Winky Lux Latte Kitten palette, and it's slowly losing its scent. This was sent to me from a friend here on the tubes, and I love it. I love this palette so much, and I'm so happy she sent it to me. Winky Lux is expensive, though, for what it is. So again, the on theme, unless they came out with a color story that blew my socks off, I wouldn't pay the price for Winky Lux products. As pretty and cute as they are, and the fact that, like, they're covered in kittens, and I now have a kitty, which I love so much, like, I love this palette, but unless they, like, had a super sale or came out with a color story that knocked my socks off, I wouldn't get another palette from them, because they're just, for drugstore, like, they're expensive. I think that palette's, like, $18. And that's just, Next, we have my Ofra and Francesca Tollet, or if I'm mispronouncing anything, I apologize. I'm horrible. This is the Infinite palette, which looks like this. It's beautiful. Love it. The highlight in the middle is their like normal highlighter formula, and I love that. But these shades are really nice. It's the only Ofra palette I have, obviously. But I don't know. Ofra palettes don't intrigue me. I won this in a giveaway, and I'm very happy to have it because it is very nice quality. But I'm never drawn to buying Ofra products. Like, whenever I get them in boxes and things like that, or from friends, the quality is phenomenal. But, like, every time I go on their website or go on Sephora or Ulta to, like, look at their products, I'm like, I'm fine. So, I don't know. Again, if they had a color story that blew my socks off, or, like, if they came out with an all shimmer palette of just that, like, highlight formula, maybe, but that palette's really nice. Next, we have from Maybelline, an oldie but a goodie. This is the Soda Pop palette. And I love this palette so much. It's one of my only palettes that has a pan in it. And it's got some hard pan, but like this is an OG. I've had this palette for years and I love it. Most Maybelline palettes are crap and I wouldn't buy any of them now, but if I could find the Lemonade palette, it came out at the same time as the Soda Pop palette. If I could find that Lemonade palette in store, I would buy it in a heartbeat. But that would be the only other palette from Maybelline that I would want. So that's my caveat to that Maybelline palette. If I could find that Lemonade palette, I might try to find a picture that put it here. But that Lemonade palette haunts my dreams. Next we have from Bella Beauty Bar. Yeah, this is the Basic Witch palette, which looks like this. Absolutely stunning. It's just, they're a little pricey, a little bit. Just a little. Just a scooch. Just a sconch. Beautiful color stories, but it's a maybe. Again, the brand intrigues me. So it would just be do they come out with a collection that I'm just like, ooh, yes, and want to pull the trigger on. I really liked this palette, and I bought a few things, and I'm very happy with the things that I bought. So it's we'll see what they do. The same goes for this. I got the Glaminatrix Pretty in Pastels, which is what is on my eyes today, which looks like this. I used every shade in this row except the pink. And instead of the pink, I used this blue. So, it's gorgeous. I really liked it. Glaminatrix, it's just because this is coming from Australia, I believe, is where they're at. So it's a little expensive, but like the quality's there. The palette is heavy. Like, it's really nice. So it would just be, they do a lot of neutrals, which is why when they came out with this, I jumped on it. I bought this, I set an alarm to buy this when it came out. I have never done that. So it would just be do they come out with anything else that catches my eye like this? Because I don't do neutrals. So that's why that's in my maybe category. Next, we have from Sugar Drizzle. This is the Mattes palette, which is beautiful. I wish we had more of these tealy blues in here because I feel like the purples are a little redundant in these two rows. But the formula is fantastic, and I love this so much. So it would just be, do they come out with a color story that excites me? That is it, because their formula is fantastic, and I really do enjoy this palette. Next, we have from Lurella. I love this. This is so good. I love pressed glitters if you're new here. So, like, this is so pressed glitter heavy. It makes me happy, and I love the pinks in here. And I'm going to need to use this soon because we're going to be doing something pretty drastic with the hair pink-wise. And I'm so excited. But Lurella, it's not a brand that I've really looked too much into, so I don't even know what kind of color stories they have. I don't think they're incredibly, like, expensive. I think they're pretty cheap. So it would just be I don't know much about the brand. I got this from a friend. So I just need to look more into it. But I wouldn't be opposed. But I'm not going to fully say yes. And the last for the maybe category is this. This palette makes me upset. Because I don't like this palette. And I might declutter it. I do need to wear it one more time before I fully decide. But this is the Clarity Cosmetics Deadly Rose palette. which looks like this. I've used every shade in the palette once, and the only shades that I think are good are the two greens. On me, these two matte taupes look exactly the same, and neither of them hardly show up on my skin tone. The matte red is very light and patchy. This shimmer red doesn't have any shine or sparkle. It's basically a satin. This taupe is a satin, and it's not a good satin. This shimmer, go watch my review video and you can see what happened with this, and it was horrific and awful. And then this one's great. This is a nice inner corner. Like, that one's fine. This one is just fine. But the greens are great. The greens are perfectly good. And you know what? Let me see. Is this a magnetic palette? Could I keep the greens and declutter the rest of the palette? If I so choose. The pans are magnetic. But I'm going to set this out because I actually should try and wear this again like this week and actually form my opinion on if I want to keep this. So, but why it's in the maybe is because I have Clarity Cosmetics singles and I love them so much. So though this palette was a dud for me, if they came out with other palettes, like, I would still possibly want to try them, which is why this is in the maybe, because it just really depends on what the brand does as a whole. I know they're like in the process of like rebranding their stuff, so we would just have to see. So I'm gonna go ahead and move all of these palettes back into their homes, and then we'll get into the brands that I would purchase from it more of. So, and that's probably my biggest stack. All right, and then these are in no particular order, of course, but I have 2 stacks of palettes, so we're just going to pull right off the top. And first we have my Adept Cosmetics Heather Austin palette, which look like this, and stunning. I would absolutely purchase another Adept palette. They're expensive, and so, like, I would need to plan that, but the quality, even just into the packaging on this, is phenomenal. So 100% yes. These obviously are all yeses. This is the CXC Beauty Gothic Romance palette, and did I not pull the thingy off the mirror? Do we get some live peel? Alright, well, I'll deal with that later. But this is what it looks like, and it's just a beautiful pinky color story. But the formula on this is really nice, and their color stories are really pretty. Haha, I didn't know I didn't peel that off. But yeah, and I've already seen some of their other color stories, and it makes me want to purchase from them. And, like, look at the packaging, and it feels heavy, and it's not super expensive. So, definitely would. We have Beauty Bakery, and I don't know why, but this brand their packaging and everything just gets me. This color story on this one, this is the Breakfast in Bed, is so unique. I decluttered this to a friend, and I missed it so much that I was like, hey, do you use that palette that I gave you? And she was like, honestly, no. And I was like, can I have it back? And she's like, yeah, go for it. So I recluttered this to my collection because I missed this so much. So 100% yes. And I want more palettes from the brand. I just haven't done that. Lash Step. This is the Matte About You. And I would say yes because the formula on this is phenomenal. It is so good. Now I own 3 all matte palettes because of the Sugar Drizzle, the mattes. But I only own 2 all matte neutral palettes, and this is so good. And it, like, mimics the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes, the first one. This is so good. And if they came out with, like, a cool tone version of this to, like, dupe his cool tone one that just came out, I would buy that. This is so nice. And I got this from Walmart for, like, I got it on clearance for $3, and it's definitely worth that. But I think it was like $15 full price, and so 100% I would buy more from them. This is the Okalon Ethereal Nude palette, and they dupe Color Stories. I believe this is the Naughty Nude by Huda dupe. This formula is so good. Like, I don't have the Naughty Nude from Huda, but, like, this is really, really nice. I'm going to try not to swatch things, but just, like, these shimmers. Hang on. There we go. The duochrome, that shimmer. Like, the shimmers in this palette are so good. And the mattes are buttery smooth and blendable. Like, it's such a good palette. I don't know why I expect dupe palettes to just be trash, but I don't know. I just feel like if you're duping a high-end Color Story, that, like, it's not going to be as good. And I know what Huda Beauty's formula should be like, and this is a really good dupe. I really want to try Alter Ego for a dupe brand, but I absolutely want to try more from this brand. Then we had the Beauty Crop. This is the Dawn Gazing palette, which I'm sorry for the, like, reflectiveness, but this is like a burgundy Color Story, which you know I love. But the formula on this is absolutely stunning. I've tried Beauty Crop, like, other products that aren't eyeshadows, and everything I try from this brand is great. So I would absolutely try another palette from them, because that one's just so good. Now we have one of my more recent ones. This is from Wander Beauty, and it's the Trailblazer palette. Wander Beauty's eyeshadow formula is really freaking good. Like, for no reason is it this good. So, this is the first Wander Beauty palette that I've gotten from Ipsy BoxyCharm. I want to get more of them. Like, give me the Wander Beauty products. I know people get sick of Wander Beauty, but, like, it's good quality. I want it. Then we have from Luna Magic. This is the Uno palette. This duochrome right here called Dinero. Like, that's stunning. The mattes in here, like I said, buttery smooth, beautiful. We love to see it. I definitely would try more from this brand because the formula is just so good. Then we have, this is another Ice Cream Beauty palette, but this is the St. Angel Sinners Friendsgiving palette. And I've said before that I don't think the mattes go with the shimmers, but these shimmers, these duochromes, are just so beautiful. And I've gone and looked at the St. Angel Sinners, the other palettes that she has, and her just Color Stories are beautiful. And I want to place another order, like an order with her palettes, because I think her formula is just really good. Wicked Widow Beauty. This is the Lovesick palette. I want the Graveyard Smash palette so badly. So yes, I would buy more. Without you, I'll be miserable at best, is what it says. But this is beautiful. I want the Graveyard Smash palette. If they come out with any more that look like these little books, then yes, because I want them. The last really big one, this is the Makeup a Murder Burner Phone, which looks like this. This is like my first really nice pastel palette, and I would love to buy more from Makeup a Murder because I love their branding. If you don't know, I love everything horror, so their whole, like, crime scene-esque branding is great, but the quality on this is just superior because these aren't just pastels, they're like neon pastels, and I love that so very much. Then we have from Estate Cosmetics, this is the Fall Edit palette. It's another Ipsy palette, but this is really good. And I've had a couple, like, little singles from Estate Cosmetics and some other things, and their formula is just good across the board. Everything I've tried from them is pretty great, and so I wouldn't mind trying more palettes from the brand as a whole. We'll start with the bigger quad, because I don't keep many quads in my collection, so if I do, they're good. This is the Uoma by Sharon C. Eye Service Quad in Dreaming. which looks like this. This is stunning. This is the best quad in my entire collection. The formula on this is just so beautiful. That's the shimmers. The mattes are buttery smooth. Love it. So, like I said, I don't use a lot of quads, but love having this in my collection. And the last palette for this video is this teeny tiny little quad from Lottie London. This is the Mauves quad. So this was from Ipsy. The Mauves palette is actually, I believe it's a 9-pan. So this was just a sampling from it. But this is, so we get like an actual shimmer and a satin. And they're soft but pretty. And then we get a purple and a more like mauve-y pink matte. And it's a really soft but elegant color story that just goes. And I like having this for this specific look. Like, you're really, unless you just use like 1 or 2 shades, if you use all 4, you're really only going to get 1 look out of it, but the look is gorgeous, which is why I keep this. I would love to just get the Mauves, the big palette, and get rid of this quad because it's very tiny and I don't really use quads, but unless I do that, like, I'm happy to keep this because this is really nice. So, if you made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you. Those are all the palettes in my collection that are one-hit wonders. Let me know if you would like to see all of the eyeshadow palette brands that I have multiple palettes from, and if I would purchase more or not, because I would absolutely make that video as well. Otherwise, any other questions, comments, concerns, anything, leave them down in the comments below. I love talking with you there, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.